Hi you guys, it's Jerusha. It's November 2016 and I'm here to talk to you about a little bit about something, not so much about dreadlocks. Okay. Anyway, I have a son. He's 2 years old right now and I'm 40 years old. And I grew up going to school. We had one school, public school. And we didn't start school till kindergarten, which was when we were 5 years old. So that's when I started. I didn't have daycare. My parents didn't have daycare. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania, and we didn't have daycare. And our family, we didn't use daycare or preschool. So these days you hear all these things about people who live in New York City or other places, and they have wait lists for preschool. And you can spend as much on preschool as you can on a college education. No kidding. I'm not kidding you. Now, some people have heard this, some people haven't. I actually recently spoke with my husband's friend who lived in Switzerland for a few years. And when they had their child, he was a baby. When they moved to Switzerland, they were in the military Air Force. And so he was already born when they moved there. And they were looking for a preschool to have him in Switzerland. And they were like, all of the ones that she was talking about, she said that they were all like ones that you had to get on the wait list before your child was born. Wow. Okay, I thought that was just an American thing, like an idiotic American thing. Switzerland. Anyway, I have known now two people who have lived in Switzerland, and I haven't had very good reviews of it. Okay, of course. I haven't questioned them in depth, but both of the people I know who have lived in Switzerland have said that's very conservative. It's not everything that you would think by saying that, they have no military. They actually do have a military. It's pretty scary, actually. I don't know if you want to ever look up the Swiss military, but they have these weird costumes that they wear, and they have all of these very interesting weapons that they are taught to use. And everyone is taught, I think every man at least is taught to use these weapons, and it's required, I believe, once you turn a certain age. And then you don't go home with the weapons, but you're taught how to use them. And then I believe they are kept in some sort of armory, where if you need to, you go and you get those weapons out there, that armory. Oh my goodness. Okay, my memory isn't 100% great. So I just remember this conversation from speaking with a friend of my husband's about a month ago. So I was, interested in the way that these people were dressed. It was like court jesters, those typical kinds of costumes that you see in like books or childhood fairy tales of court jesters. Well, that's how the Swiss military dresses. That's their uniform. And I don't really know all of the details of it. I know you can look it up on Wikipedia. So anyway, what was my point? Okay, I'm here to talk to you about values. And I want to talk to you about how I went to visit a school that I have had my heart set on for my son or daughter, whoever I had, even before they were born. Here in Portland, Oregon, it's a school that is not part of the public school system. It's a private school. I did not know how large the school was. I know that it is about a half-hour drive from where we live, and even though you have to pay tuition to have your child go there, I knew that they did like kindergarten through 5th grade. But now I know that they do preschool starting at age 3. So my son, who's age 2 right now, could probably go there next year for preschool. And it is a German school. So it's a German international school, which means that there is German immersion. And in preschool, they start learning the vocabulary, but they do bilingual for preschool because most of their kids that go there are actually from English-speaking households, which I did not know. Our household here is English speaking primarily, only actually. So we did the tour of the school on Friday, which was yesterday. And I hadn't been to the school before. When we pulled up in the parking lot, it was a lot larger than I expected. And I didn't get all teared up because I was kind of focused on something else. I think I was distracted. We actually went there to visit with my husband, me, my mom, who lives with us, and my son, our son, my husband and my son. We only have one child together, biologically. And so we took him along, and we took my mom just in case my son, would not be able to, participate in the whole tour. I had never spoken with the woman. It was just through email as far as like setting up the tour. It was going to be about an hour long, and I really didn't know what it was going to be like. So I didn't tell her that we were bringing my son because I didn't know if his nap schedule was going to work out for it. But turns out it did. And so we got to visit the preschool classrooms. We got to visit the kindergarten classrooms, first grade classrooms, second grade classrooms, third grade classrooms, all the way up. Gosh, I'm getting kind of teary here. I'm not kidding. I have been thinking about this school, looking at their website for the last 4 years. I never really thought it was going to be a reality. I never really thought that we were going to be able to do it. So, this is a big deal. My family is German on both sides. German-Swiss. German-speaking Swiss and Germanic. And we just recently found out that at least part of my husband's family is also German. When I first brought up recently with my husband the idea of our son going to a German immersion school for his elementary school years and preschool, he said, well, it's not very practical. It's more practical for him to learn Mandarin or Spanish. So not only is it important to me for my son to be able to learn German, because my ancestors are German, my grandparents spoke Pennsylvania German, and all of them back to 1727 when my first ancestors came to this country. They've always been bilingual, and with World War II and everything, people started not teaching their kids Pennsylvania German, so I wasn't taught any, and my dad was taught very little by his parents, and so I wasn't bilingual. I didn't learn a second language, and I've always wanted to learn German, but I didn't have an opportunity, and I didn't have an opportunity in the window of opportunity for language, which is when you're really young, in your elementary school years. So I thought, I don't know what language is going to be practical for my son as an adult when he enters his life in the adult world. What language is going to be practical for him. He can learn another language when he wants to, but I think that having a language that is his ancestral language probably would be a safe bet. And there's some research on kids learning 2 languages helping their brain development. So if you can do it, and if you want to, there's benefits for it. So this school teaches about values. Okay, so I know some people will say, very practical, pragmatic people will say, well, you teach values at home, right? That's what I always thought too. Well, sometimes there are some, the home life, your home, your family isn't all totally sound in terms of like the values. Like you try to teach your kids values, but you don't have all kinds of control, sometimes depending on your spouse, sometimes depending on like other influences. So I would like my son to learn responsibility as a value. Very strong and important value, I think. Perseverance is another one. Industriousness is another one. Those are Germanic values. Those are ones that I was taught, even though my family's been in this country since the 1700s. We all were taught those values. Hardworking, another one. So having a school that's not just academically sound and well-rounded is more important to me than having a school that's based on kids being really smart, super smart, have to get into it, have to be super gifted, because super gifted kids aren't necessarily going to be well-rounded, and they're not necessarily going to be taught really good values, in my mind anyway. So to me, it's more important to have well-rounded and have good values. This school talks about how the central idea of the school is relationships with each other affect our lives. Okay. It doesn't matter how smart you are, because there's so many different kinds of intelligence anyway. So they talk about helping out at home. They talk about what it means to be a good friend. They talk about responsibility. This is what they say: transdisciplinary theme. Who we are, an inquiry into the nature of the self, beliefs and values, personal, physical, mental, social, and spiritual health, human relationships, including families, friends, communities, and cultures, rights and responsibilities, and what it means to be human. All right, so I haven't read 1,000 different school brochures. I really don't care to be honest. When I went to my master's degree program, I went and applied to one school because I knew it was the school to go to, and that's all that mattered to me. So I put it all into that, and I didn't really spread out my resources. That's just how I am. I choose what I want to do, and then I work for that. It helps me focus on one thing. You can get really distracted by all sorts of things, you know? So, this school is based on values, and it's based on interdependence, and it's based on lifelong learning. So it is not a school, family members asked. Wait lists. Shouldn't you get your son on a wait list for preschool? Like, they asked me this like 9 months ago. He wasn't even 2 yet. I said, well, my mom lives with us. She's taking care of him. She loves to. She's really good with, stimulation, and she can take him to things and get social interaction with him. But wait lists, this school doesn't have a wait list. If you really want to make sure your son or daughter gets into the school, you might want to apply early, but they don't have a lot of wait lists, okay? For preschool, they have 3 classrooms, 18 kids in each classroom. That's pretty big, I think. 2 teachers, and it's preschool. It actually has like a structure, yeah. They also have nap time, quiet time or nap time. And the preschool starts at age 3, or when they're fully potty trained, because some kids don't get fully potty trained until later, it depends. And so preschool goes up until age about 5 or 6, depending on when they're ready to start kindergarten. So he could be there for 2 or 3 years. So no, there's not a wait list. We're going to probably apply. It's not super competitive, Well, yeah, it's a half-hour drive from our house. You can get there on public transportation. But really what I want to say is that this is important to me. And I'm not sure why I'm sharing it with you. I think I'm sharing it because I think that values are really important. And for me, this is the thing, for me, values are important. And the values that are important are personal responsibility. Okay, my son is really intelligent. I know that. He's a very social person. He's very social. He has never met a person he did not like. He smiles at people. He says hello to people. I have not taught him that. He just does. And I believe that he will probably be some kind of a leader one day. And I'm really proud of that. That's his potential. I can tell that about him. And so I guess I wouldn't be as excited about this school, telling you about it, except that, I'll tell you this. Our son, he didn't just pay attention for the 1 hour that the tour was. We were there for an hour and 20 minutes, and he went into all the classrooms, and when the kids came back in from recess, we were in there, and he joined right in. He joined right in with the preschool classroom. He joined right in with the first grade classroom. He joined right in with the classes that were going on in the music room. All the kids learn to play the guitar. 4th and 5th grade, every kid learns guitar. I think it's 3rd and 4th grade, every kid learns ukulele. And the grades before that, they're learning the alto recorder and some other kind of recorder. I don't know. They have music class, and there's instruments provided for every student. So he was sitting down in that classroom, and when the kids came in and they did circle time, he sat there, tried to be part of the circle. He was looking back and forth from the teacher to the student that was in the middle of the circle, teaching and doing a game, starting a game that they were doing. When they said to raise your hand, my son raised both his hands. And he was smiling and he was excited. And you know what? When he had to leave the classroom to move on, he looked a little bit sad. Yeah, it was kind of sad for me too, because I was thinking, gosh, like, should we have him in something right now? Because he's so excited to be. But you know, I know that he wouldn't have been that way no matter what school we went to and toured. He wouldn't have been that excited. He was extremely stimulated by the environment. The classrooms were all different. There were some very, very interesting parts, especially the preschool classrooms were very interesting. And there were so many parts of them, I mean, I didn't want to leave the classrooms either. But when the kids came in, that was when he got even more happy and excited. So that's what I'm sharing with you. Not just pushing my kid into some school that I think he should go to, but he was really responding to it. And that made me really happy, because I've never seen him before in a classroom situation. Like, he was looking from the teacher to the student and back and forth to try and figure out what they were doing, which is a kind of behavior that you don't really learn until you've been in a classroom situation for a little while. Some of us still don't quite know exactly how we're supposed to figure out what we're supposed to do. And he was doing that, and I had never seen him do that before. Plus, he was trying to participate, and he was raising both his hands. That's some pretty exuberant participation effort there on his part. So now you can see why I'm happy and why I'm proud of him. So, you know, depending on who he was, I might not be pushing for him to go to preschool at age 3 at this school where he can continue through kindergarten through 5th grade if he wants to. I wouldn't necessarily be pushing for that depending on his personality and his emotional development. But I think that the focus in this country on how smart your child is, I'm not saying everybody focuses on that. I'm saying that that's just what I've observed in my experience, is this focus on how smart people's kids are, and all being so competitive about schools, even preschools. It's ridiculous. It's like a caricature. It's true though. It really is true. And so if you have some money that you're going to spend on your kid going to school, well, what about Waitlists? How is it ranked? That school, how's it rank? Bullshit. Okay, hardly ever swear, okay? Probably have to do an age restriction on there because I did that. But seriously, I'm really annoyed at the focus on intelligence of that academic nature. Okay, we've got people coming in from other countries like India and Japan and Asian countries that are way better at the sciences than people in this country are. And that's crap, because it's not like they're smarter than us. They have better education and they are better trained in the values of perseverance and hardworkingness. That's what I think it is. I don't think it's inherently that people in those cultures are smarter than we are. I think it's because we are not teaching our kids really that they need to work hard. Okay, and it's probably a lot of other things going on too. But I think that, you know, focusing on telling your child that he's smart is really like a minimal helpfulness when it comes to your child, because he's not going to be smart in every area. And so what if he's not? If you're smart, you might still fail in life. I know lots of people that are super smart and they're failing in life. You know why? Because they're not well-rounded and they don't know how to get along with other people. And they also don't have their values in line with relationships with other people. So let's not focus on people being smart inherently, and let's just think about values and being well-rounded and respecting other people and teaching our children about that. And you know what? Everyone wins then, because we get to learn about what everyone's strengths are and how we can all rely on each other to kind of like even it out, and not just rely on each other because we're going to like take advantage, but because we're going to be aware of how important each person is. That's what I think. Anyway, I'm sorry, a little bit on a soapbox here because I'm kind of emotional about this. I'm also kind of reacting to coming from a public school, being really hardworking myself, not being told I could maybe necessarily go to college because I grew up on a farm and we were pretty poor, our family. And so I'm kind of reacting because I'm around people now that think that they're really smart, and they think that all their kids are probably pretty smart, and it seems like they think that that's all you need to be. There's a lot too much focus on them being smart, instead of like a lot of things that are really like getting neglected, like values of these people and relationships, and how are they able to get along with each other and form relationships with other people. So yes, I am grateful that my son seems to be extremely intelligent and gifted and curious about learning things, but I'm even more excited about the fact that he's very social. He's very pro-social and he likes people. And so I think to me, that is more important than his smartness. So that's my rant. Preschools, millennials, Generation Xers, and yuppies, and people who can afford to send their kids to preschools that cost money. Okay? That's my rant. That's what I'm about. That's what this is about. And I want to share that with you because this is sometimes, actually always, really real. All right. Take care. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Love you guys.